welcome you to this meeting of the Legal Women Voters. Thank you for coming today. We meet every Thursday, second Thursday of each month at this time here in Target Hall. However, next month we're going to be making a change in our schedule, and I'll have to get back to you on that. We're going to be having an evening forum with local teachers and educators on the effects of North Carolina budget cuts on public education. And several teachers, principal, and we hope the North Carolina Teacher of the Year will be coming to address the state of public education in North Carolina. And that will be a Thursday evening, either the 14th or the 21st. We're trying to get that nailed down, kind of depending on the Teacher of the Year. But we'll get that word out to you. And this is a really important issue to all of us, what's happening in our public schools. So we hope to get a good turnout for that and invite our elected officials to come as well. Today we're hearing from Mayor Bob Scott and Summer Woodard, town manager, about the state of the town. And we're very lucky to have them because they're both about to become movie stars and go off to Hollywood. And so we're really pleased that they would come sit with us today because they've been off with the stars recently. Okay, I'll turn it over to you.
I'm going to try to have this thing right here rather than holding it. If y'all can hear me, usually I don't need a microphone. I just want to tell you that I'm really beginning to enjoy being mayor. I got off to a rather rough start, but the one thing about my being up here as a mayor is that anybody can become a mayor. So, we were talking about the movie star, and we were sort of sworn to a little bit of secrecy about it yesterday, but it made all the bumpy places being mayor worthwhile. It was really enjoyable yesterday, and I invited the director to come back to Franklin, and I'd take him fishing and whatever, because they were probably pumping I don't know this for a fact, but I would say they're probably pumping $30,000 to $50,000 a day at the local. And if you've seen them, it looks like a whole division of people that moved in with trailers, flatbed trucks, and everything. They don't just show up there with a guy for sound and a guy for the camera. They've got about 150 people here working on that movie. I am a little disappointed that I was not really recognized, but that's their problem. I want to talk to you a little bit today about the state of Franklin and where we are. Several years ago, the town went to the manager-council form of government. And when we did that, everything changed from where it used to be, where we had a town administrator, and basically the town administrator reported to 6 aldermen and to a mayor. All that's changed when you go to the manager-council form of government, and that came about pretty much in North Carolina as a result of Jacksonian democracy. And what that did was it took the politics out of the hiring and firing and the daily operation of a town. I think it's been a very good move for Franklin to do that, and everything's working very smoothly. I want to introduce Summer Woodard. Summer, for a while there, had the title of interim town manager, and we stripped her of that title. She is now the town manager, and we're just delighted. I'll tell you a little bit about Summer. She is a native of Franklin, a graduate of Franklin High School. She has a Master's of Public Administration from Western and also a BS in Political Science. And I think political science and BS go together. She did an internship with the town. And in doing her internship, she worked in every department of the town, so she's very familiar with the operation of the town. And she learned all about how things operate in the town. And she was the assistant town manager, or assistant to the town manager, for about 3 years, a little over 3 years. And when we looked at all that, people said, well, why didn't you advertise the position? Well, let me ask you this. When you've got somebody in-house that's as well-trained and as astute as somebody is, why would we go outside? If we'd have gone outside and hired another town manager, she would have had to train him. or her. And so this was the logical choice, and we've just been delighted ever since with everything she's been doing. I want to change one of the things that I would like to do, and I think I'll be preaching to the choir here since this is the League of Women Voters. One thing I would like to do is to change from having aldermen to having council members. The definition of alderman is old men, and half of the town board are women now. We have women in high places within the town. And I think that when you go across the state and you say, oh, I'm an alderman in the town of Franklin, they say, well, that's really good. What's an alderman? So I am hoping to change someday. I only need one more vote, and I think I can get it. So I would like for us to be known as council members rather than aldermen, because I think in this day and time, that's an old worn out term. I'm often asked as the mayor, what is the biggest problem I have as the mayor? And I can put it in just a couple of words. It's the North Carolina General Assembly. And I'm really serious about that. We've heard about the General Assembly waging war on women, war on the poor, war on the unemployed, the uninsured, but very little has been said about the war on cities, which is really a war on local governments. It started 3 years ago when a Henderson County legislator decided it was time to take over the city of Asheville's water supply. And the city of Asheville had over $1 billion in this water system that they had. The next year, the legislature stripped Asheville of its airport and then decided to take the airport away from the city of Charlotte. This was just the beginning. They went after Guilford County, where they redistricted the county commissioners without asking the county if it wanted to be redistricted or not. Then they went after Wake County Schools by rewriting the districts, again against the wishes of the school board. The legislature didn't stop there. They forced the Sanford City Council and school boards, which had long been nonpartisan, to switch to partisan elections without a request or permission from those jurisdictions or their voters. Still didn't stop there. They have decided to strip cities of one of their sources of revenue, the privilege tax. This is a fee that's levied on businesses by a city to help pay for services. In Franklin, we will lose between $28,000 and $35,000 next year without privilege licenses. Our privilege licenses for the town of Franklin are very steep. They run from $2.50 a year up to less than $500 a year. So you see there's not been an abuse of the privilege licenses by the town of Franklin. But when you look at the loss of revenue in a town that has as tight a budget as we have, it is significant. Charlotte's going to lose $3 million. Raleigh's going to lose $7.9 million, just as a couple of examples. The legislature was first going to drop the privilege licenses to a flat fee of $100 per business. But then they did away with that, and now we'll have no privilege license. If you have an ABC permit to serve alcohol in a restaurant, you're probably going to see your licenses double, and that money will not be coming to the town. It will be going to the state. Cities and towns are increasingly being squeezed by the mandates that are being put on us by the legislature. And what this is doing is passing those cuts down to the people who can least afford to suffer from these cuts. Now, the legislature can do this because cities and towns in North Carolina cannot pass any law without getting permission from the legislature. And the legislature in North Carolina can essentially do whatever it wants to. Towns cannot. Statewide, the legislative judges, they may not have been nonpartisan, but they ran as not of a party. That's changing. Fracking, I'm sure that you're all familiar with fracking. And under the legislature, the town board is going to be, our town board, at the August meeting, we're going to consider a discussion and possibly passing a resolution if the board sees fit to vote on it regarding fracking. Now, a number of the cities and the towns out in western North Carolina have already done this. Fracking has been a big issue. My big issue with the fracking thing is the legislature has said that towns and cities cannot do any kind of regulation or ordinances concerning fracking. And that to me, coming from people that are supposed to be for local government, just doesn't add up. They also had a bill to make it a felony to try to find out what kind of chemicals were going in the ground. They dropped that from a felony to a misdemeanor now. And the interesting thing is, what's going into the ground in other states is just a matter of public record. So go figure. Locally, talking about a couple of things locally, I'm very concerned about the number of empty buildings that we have, but on the other hand, I am very pleased to see some of our empty buildings being rehabilitated. Who would have ever thought that the town hall of Franklin, North Carolina one day would be a brewery? That would have, 20 years ago, we wouldn't have been, But now I have to give you a full disclosure. I am an investor in the Lazy Hiker Brewing Company. It's 1 6-pack at a time, but I am an investor. So I just want y'all to know that right up front before you start accusing me of conflict of interest. The Orphan Building, the old Orphan Building down next to Old Ingles? Look how good that looks with just what a little paint and a little something will do. But unfortunately, right across the street, we've got something that looks like major urban blight. We've got grass growing up waist high, buildings that need a lot of paint, they're empty. And what my theory is, let's rehabilitate the buildings we've got now rather than going out and building more buildings and then leaving empty buildings behind. James Q. Wilson's old theory of the broken windows effect. This is what we have. If we don't maintain our buildings, it just breeds urban blight. And that is one of the things as the mayor that I'm very concerned about right now. But for years, another thing that I was concerned about, for years the town and the county have bragged about having such a low tax rate, lowest tax rate in the state. We were very proud of that. Now we're suffering from it because we're having trouble funding some of the things that are absolutely fundamental to a society as we know it. So that's another issue. I proposed, the former town manager proposed a 1 cent tax increase. I proposed, no, let's go to 2. And that 2 cent tax increase is not major on anybody, and someone's going to talk about the effect that it will have on individuals. But we did get the tax increase to 2 cents over what it had been. And I'm proud of that. If I didn't do anything else, I got that through. I'm sure that some of you have heard about the hospice house, and the town voted on a split vote the other night not to be, what's the word that I'm looking for, a sponsor of a grant from the state. And one of the reasons is a lot of things that are happening in the state right now, like the Department of Commerce, there's a lot of talk and there's a lot of changing things around to where there's privatization of some things that have characteristically and historically been governmental functions. Some of the regulations that when we got to delving into it were just, it was more than the town could feel like that we should be taking on. Another thing that I'm very pleased with the town, I think we stand to become a regional medical center. We're working on branding Franklin, and one of the things that we want to do is to be known as a hiker outdoor town. I think that's one of our strong points that we have right now. And we've got the Lazy Hiker Brewing Company, we've got the Appalachian Trail, the Barton Trail. We've got 2 outdoor outfitter stores that seem to be doing very well, and we want to try to promote that. One of the things that I would like to see us do is to do some international advertising. We talk to the guys at the outdoor stores that we have, and there are certain times of the year we get a lot of people from Europe, we get a lot of people from Asia coming through Franklin. They want to see where Daniel Boone lived. They want to come experience this outdoor thing. And they can come over here cheaper than they can vacation in their own country. We're within 3 hours of 3 international airports. Why do we not want to maybe start doing some advertising somewhere else in other countries? I mean, the globe has shrunk. I mean, I know people that go to Europe like I would go to silver, and vice versa. So we want to look at that. We did have a bit part in the major movie being filmed in Franklin. I felt right at home. I got to see the set. Got to go into the mobile home being set up with all the beer cans and the cushions lying around, the dirty dishes and all. Felt right at home. Won't be the first time I've been in trouble. And even as we speak, I understand they're filming at Woodlawn Cemetery today. I did get to meet I guess it's hard to tell this, I mean, where else but in North Carolina? The guy that was one of the main people in this robbery is an advisor now to the film. As soon as he got out of prison, he became an advisor to the film. And you're not going to believe this, he's got relatives in Franklin. And I figured, well, what else? Because you can go anywhere in the world and hear somebody from Franklin is going to come by. And it's usually when you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, but here they come. And it's usually the First Baptist Church choir on a bus. So that's where we are. Someone's going to talk just a little bit about some of the changes that we're making in the town. One of the things she's going to talk about is the Main Street program and some of the reorganizations that we're doing within the town. And let me just finish up here. And one thing that I want to make sure is after summer's finished, we want to throw the floor open for suggestions, get cussed out, whatever you want to do, because this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to build some involvement in the town. And on July the 30th, we're having the Focus on Franklin thing, and it's going to be put on by the Public Policy Institute of Western Carolina University. Gordon Mercer used to be the head of that. And we have already met, Sam and I have already met with the folks from the PPI, and they're very excited to come into Franklin and help us out. We've got some problems with the Scottish Tartan Museum right now. I think you saw in the paper the art gallery, some of our things that are nonprofits, they're struggling. And yet those are the things that are bringing people here. So we're probably going to have to look at trying to upbuild them a little, because if you've got the attractions, the people will come. If you don't have the attractions, they're not going to come. There are two things that I am very concerned about, and one of them is speeding. I hope that we're going to do something to slow people down, because we could solve an awful lot of our traffic problems. We could slow people down, particularly on 441 around Arby's and Bojangles, that area. And trash. We live right off of Maple Street, and Maple Street seems to be a linear trash can directly from the fast food restaurants. And people just come down, and I don't know what it is. There seems to be some lack of pride in how Franklin looks, and I'm very concerned about that. I don't have any idea of what we can do to change it, but I expect to hear some today from y'all. The mound, we're still, nothing has been resolved on the mound yet. We're still hoping that someday we're going to tie the mound, the Little Tennessee River, the Greenway, the Whitmire property, all of that into a total renovation of that end of the town. That's a long way off, but that's how my hometown of Greenville, South Carolina survived, was by taking a big bite and doing what it is. And now Greenville, South Carolina it's absolutely gorgeous. It got a lot better after I left. I don't know if there was anything there about that. But that's what I'm going to do. And then someone's going to give you the nuts and bolts of a lot of where we are right now. And like I say, we're just so proud to have Summer on board now. And Summer?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Scott, for your kind words. And I must say it is a true some of the current issues that are facing us. As Mayor Scott said, I am a native of Franklin, 2004 graduate of Franklin High School, and ever since I was a small child, it's always been my dream to take pride in my town and to give back to my community. And I focused my education on ways that I knew I could come back to my hometown and do that. And finally I'm here, and I'm very excited to take that role on. I know it'll be challenging, but trust me, I'm up for a challenge. A couple of the things that I wanted to talk to you, one thing, our current budget, We got that passed when I was still serving as your interim town manager. We did go up to a 2% increase. Now, what does that do to property values and what are you expecting to pay on your tax bill? A little bit of backstory behind that is the last time that the town of Franklin saw a tax increase was in 2001, and it went up 3 cents. It took it from 30 cents to 33 cents. It continued to decline. Your tax rate went down each year up until 2007. From 2007 to present, your tax rate stayed the same at 25 cents. Now it is at 27 cents. So one thing that I wanted to do during our budget discussion was I wanted to show the board and the citizens of Franklin how that affected them directly. And one thing to note, this is just an overview, but if you had a property valued at $25,000, you would see a difference with the 2-cent increase, a minimum of $5 increase in your regular tax bill. And then if you had a piece of property worth $1 million, the most you would see a tax increase would be $200 on your bill each year. When you put it down in numbers and you equate it to that, it's really not as bad as some may seem, because I know as a taxpayer myself in the county, anytime no one wants to hear tax increase. But when you can equate it to that minimum of amount, it's worth it given the current state of affairs that we're in. That allowed the town to generate a little over $120,000 to be placed back into the general fund to build our general fund back up in our fund balance. So that is briefly what I want to talk about on the tax. I'd like to move forward a little bit and discuss with you the town bridge. In CDOT, I've been working, and my predecessor, Mr. Warren Cade, we've been working for quite some time with DOT and the current Old Town Bridge. If you're looking around 2016, construction may start if everything continues. However, it may be up until around 2018 before it's completed. What they're looking at doing is just replacing the old bridge, and we would actually, one thing that I've been in contact with DOT and some from Duke Energy as well, is we're looking at, instead of boring under the river with our water line, we're hoping just to tie our water line to the existing bridge. So we're hoping that will be very cost effective, because if we had to bore under the bridge, it would be over $350,000 to do that, and that is wasteful spending, I'm sorry. If we can tie that to the existing bridge at no additional cost, that's the route I plan to pursue. Secondly, another thing that the town did agree to do was put in $36,000 towards extending the bridge to allow more pedestrian friendly and possibly bike friendly, because I think that is something that's lacking in our area. And to piggyback off that, going into tourism and development with some of the things that are lacking is a couple of the studies that I've saw through lately recommend everyone's wanting green space right now. They're wanting your parks, they're wanting more bicycle, pedestrian friendly, and that's something I would like to look at long term, because those are things that I feel they've deteriorated over time and they've not been addressed, and it's time we address them. I serve on the Tourism Development Authority and the Tourism Development Commission, and I've been on each board for a little over 4 years now. And that is the one thing that does drive our local economy is tourism. And believe it or not, the worst month is July. I've never figured that out. Our best months, of course, will always are October, really starting in September, October. We see a slight decrease in the winter months, then we pick back up full force around April to May. But for July, in 4 years on both boards, that is the lowest amount of tourism coming to our area. And I don't know why. We've looked at different ways to try and predict that and understand that factor. But it's something that still rings through. So I'm hoping with the movie that's here, with those 150 people, maybe we'll see an increase this July. So that was a positive. I was glad to hear that. But I'm really proud of the town of Franklin and Macon County for all that we do for tourism. I don't know if you followed in some of the local news media, but we are right up there with your Buncombe counties, your Swain counties, because of the NOG. We're right there with them. We're much higher in revenue. We push around, we collect $136 million a year. We outweigh Haywood County, Jackson County by far, which struck me as odd given that they are a college town. We're players in the tourism industry, and that's something I think we need to continue to focus on. Moving into that is the current state with our Main Street program. What we've done is I've actually been advertising in the local news media and on Franklin's website. We're looking at splitting that position. Currently, the town has a Main Street director. The Main Street director, she has talked about retiring for quite some time. So what we've done, we've split the two positions into where you would have a festivals and events coordinator and a Main Street program coordinator. The current director has expressed an interest in coming back on a part-time basis to do your festivals and events. So she would continue on with that. However, that does leave a vacancy for your coordinator position, and that's what I've advertised for. It would be more of a contracted position, and part of the scope of work that would entail would be going out here to the 7 districts that make up Main Street. That's your downtown, that's your Depot Street, that's all the districts, and finding what the business owners need. What can we do for you? What can get people into this area? How can the town of Franklin help you? And I'm hoping by splitting those duties, because now when they're together, you have so much focus on your festivals, you have so much focus on your Main Street. And of course, as we all know with our busy lives, something's going to suffer. So hopefully by splitting those up, you can have one person who slowly focuses on the Main Street program. And that's what I'm hoping for. I was trying to think of any other questions or comments that anyone may have, and I'll ask Mayor Scott if he wants to kind of open it up. I'm very informal, if you will. I'd much rather hear from you than you stand up here and hear from me, because I'm here to help you.
We're very informal, and it doesn't cost anything.
Often go to Main Street, I go to the bookstore, and so forth. And one thing that I would say is that, comparing this one thing to Dillsboro, if you go to downtown to Dillsboro, and they have those walkways, they have signs sitting right there in the middle of the street saying, you must stop, it's the law of the pedestrians. And I have to tell you, sometimes you take your life in your hands when you're walking across the street, Main Street, because even though it is the law, I can't, I have to stop and look because half the people don't stop. So what I keep wondering is why don't we put signs on our walkways like they do in Dillsboro? Because it works, and it is the law, and it's a simple thing. I mean, how much would it cost us to stick a sign on those walkways? I don't know if anybody else has noticed this or not, but yeah, just a suggestion.
That's very good. One thing to to elaborate a little bit further, for several months now, the town has been working on, with a couple of different organizations on actually like a downtown parking study, if you will. So I'm hoping in the upcoming months that's something I'd be able to present to our town board and let them move on that. And that's one reason why the town has not moved forward in striping the lines. And I agree with you 100%. The pedestrian cross, you take your life in your own hands. The biggest one that I have a concern is when you first come up Town Hill. Speeders, and it goes back to what the mayor was saying, when they hit that hill, they don't stop. I mean, and it is a million wonders someone's not got severely injured because of that. But hopefully with that study, it does show you there's some bump outs, and just what you were saying with downtown Silva. I don't know if you've been down there, but it focuses more on some green space with some planting some trees, doing more of your brick pavers, and really bringing some attention to your pedestrian crosswalks. So that is something I would like to see.
I do think those signs are not very expensive. And, I know they work in Dillsboro because when I go to Dillsboro, people will stop.
Good, I think.
Go ahead, Susan.
Well, I have one simple suggestion and then one question. The simple suggestion is that a lot of people have really huge cars and they stick out into the street on Main Street. And really they shouldn't park there if they're going to stick out like that. Why can't you paint a line across the back of the parking spots that if vehicles extend past that, they need to go around to the town lot, because sometimes you really have to slow down to get by Main Street because people have parked oversized vehicles in those spaces. So that's my simple suggestion. The complicated question is there anything the town can do to facilitate the use of the second-story spaces on Main Street? I know a lot of it's up to the individual owners, but so many towns you go to now, the second stories are fully used, for apartments, for offices, and it adds such a lot to the town. And so I just want to know if there's anything that can be done to promote that or make it happen.
If you can come up with money, yes. Yeah.
Barbara McCray is also here as a council person.
Yes.
And she might have some insight on that upstairs stuff, because she's worked with it before.
Right.
Well, the Main Street, I was with the Main Street program years ago. I was the president when we first started. That was something we were trying to promote, and with some success. I don't know how you talk people into doing things that seem to be in their best interest. Money, I guess, is an issue. Sometimes the laws are complicated, and there might be some way that the town can work with the building inspector to see if there's ways to help people navigate through some of the rules about having an upstairs structure.
You're absolutely right, Barbara. One of the things that we have started looking at, some of the rules and regulations we passed years ago were very well intentioned. But now that we're several years in the future on that, some of the things we passed are actually an impediment. And we need to be constantly reviewing to see which regulations are working, which ones are hindering, and which ones are useless. That's another thing that I think is in the future we're going to have to completely redo our ordinance book. I think we finally took the thing about tying the horse to parking meters. I think that's out now, but we had something not that much far-fetched. I thought I saw things. Yeah, good. Go ahead.
Summer, I was glad to hear you speak about improving pedestrian and bicycle access to the bridges. Tying in with that is something that I know has grown up over many years, but essentially the backside of the businesses along the river, show their worst face to what is the most beautiful part of that area. It would be something to have a restaurant with a veranda overlooking the river or something of that sort. I realize that comes only a little bit of time, but it seems that perhaps some of the businesses could be encouraged to plan to improve, what would be seen in the greenway in some cases.
You're absolutely right, and being on those tourism boards and just living in this community, we have a natural asset in the middle of our downtown area. And I would encourage entrepreneurs, current business owners in that area of town to really capitalize on that. Because I would love to see, maybe some tubing, some outdoor, just some focus placed in that area. One thing to note is the Rotary Club, the Franklin Daybreak Rotary Club is doing a River Fest this year to try and bring attention to the river. And I think the more we can get that word out there, try and capitalize on that, we can get there. But I agree with you 100%.
Somebody emailed me something the other day, and here's a business. If anybody's looking for business to go into, get a couple of small pontoon boats and do sunset rides on the Little Tennessee River, or tours on the Little Tennessee River. We had segways, that kind of played out, but we have an asset that most towns in the United States would give their eye teeth for him. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. We really have not done one. Nancy, you had your hand up. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
about
I'll
the
give you-
litter, I just was wondering if you couldn't have some kind of campaign of neighborhood pride or Franklin pride and have neighborhood kind of, let's be the most litter-free neighborhood. I mean, everybody walk, a lot of people walk, not everybody. Some people walk, they can carry a plastic bag and pick up a new one. It's easy.
I think you would be a great coordinator there. You need something to do. Shirley. Did you have anything to
Same thing. Speaking of trash, it has been my personal experience, observation, that much of the trash on our streets and highways blows out of the back of pickup trucks. I don't see a lot of people throwing trash out their windows deliberately. I think a lot of our trash is unintentional, and I don't know how to change people's behavior, but I wonder if people were just, if there were some awareness campaign to help pick up drivers think about the trash that they throw, they toss in their open beds, and it blows out when they hit a highway speed.
Sir?
Okay. I kept quiet about trash long enough. Some years ago, we started an organization called Macon Pride, and that's largely what it was for, was to educate the public about recycling, because that would take care of the bulk of the trash. Just get people clicked into, take care of your cans when the crap is out the window of the truck, hoping it aims into the back bed of the truck, which there's, I think it's a state requirement that the trucks be covered. And we worked and worked and worked. We did not want to become everybody's mommy and go pick up for them on the streets, but I know Elena goes out regularly. And you folks do a wonderful job in your area, and I used to walk my road all the time too. And it's sad when you pick up this stuff and it hits home, but Barbara knows we put stuff in the papers. We tried our darndest to get organizations. We had massive Earth Day countywide trash pickups, but it just never got off the ground. I don't know what we could do, but I love those little painted bins in town, but we can't put them everywhere. I don't know what else to say. We tried.
I taught in a town that was very, very clean. And one of the reasons for that is starting in kindergarten, they had a program that taught the kids that you never throw anything out of the car. And if an adult does, you can tell them. And it got to be such a focus in the elementary school that the town just got clean.
I have to tell a story. My sister used to run a daycare center in Franklin, and she started a little campaign with her young children, and their little figure was Hootie Owl, and Hootie Owl says don't litter. And she had one of her fathers one day, it was very Macon County, come and complain that every time he threw a can out the window, his kids got on and he said, Hootie Owl! It was having an effect, like you say. He was.
Well, I haven't heard any criticism. Do you have any criticism on this? Well, we may just cut it short right now. Just plenty for criticism.
Well, no, this is not, but just more of a question on the mound. A lot of people are wondering what's going on with that. You said nothing, but
Well,
what's holding up the
I guess I just might as well be upfront about it. I have reached out, as have others, and we just haven't been able to get the tribe to the table. The ball is in their court. As far as I'm concerned right now, the ball is in their court. We're willing to talk. This thing got off to a wrong start when they went to the county commission rather than the town. I think that somebody didn't understand that the town holds the deed to the mountain. We have the greatest potential in the world, and like I said, the mound, the Little Tennessee River, the land trust of Little Tennessee, all of that on that end of town, with the new bridge going in, with the pedestrian bikeway, we've got an opportunity. And yes, I think the struggle is going to be between those who have raised money to buy the mound and preserve it, and the tribe owning the mound on their terms, whatever it may be. I'm hoping that somewhere we're going to come in the middle with the trust with something that's going to be acceptable to the tribe and to the town. Because I know of no other towns that have a mound with as much historical value as there is within the city limits of the town. That's another thing that we need to be proud of. Yes?
But that brings up another situation. Years ago, when they put that fast food joint on the river, there were so many of us that were jumping up and down anti that. I know it's after the fact now, but if you're going to do that, and hopefully that does come about, is there any way that the town can require the facades to reflect the ambiance of a small town? I know we're not built more, but I know that the McDonald's over there does a better job of looking like it fits in. Maybe we don't need a grand piano and those things, but it's like, you know, it's,
I said sort of half jokingly that Franklin could move itself into being a town straight out of the 1950s. And I don't say that facetiously because we have so many buildings that do come from that era, which have disappeared in other places. The Phillips 66 in front of the old Bengals, if you're familiar with it, was the design that Phillips 66 came up with for all their corporate service stations in the 1950s. And if you look at that, it's actually got flagstones all over it. A successful restaurant, I understand in Clayton, I have not been to it, at one time had been an old service station. They converted to a restaurant. Was it you, Tyler, Travis, or Ryan that was telling you about that?
Yeah, it's called the Universal Joint now.
Yeah.
And I was there last night, and I actually took a picture. It was packed. We couldn't get a table. 7 o'clock on a Wednesday.
But here's the thing. We've got all the things that we need. We just don't have the resources to bring them up to where we want. If we did, we don't need, frankly, we don't need any more buildings. Drive around and look at how many empty buildings we've got. Seriously. That with a little paint, I'm not talking about structural changes so much as I am just cosmetic changes in what we do. And this is something I'm rather passionate about is do we really need more buildings? See what we got when we got a new Walmart? We got a beautiful empty shopping center. And you talk about urban blight. I drove out there yesterday and looked around. It certainly doesn't give a very good impression of Franklin. Wheel in there with your mobile home and spend the night. Something I'm taking all the time. All questions go to something.
Again, wondering about regulation, but if there is in-building in the town, such as where the old motel is gone and now that big lot is open, I wonder if there's a way to require or to encourage the architecture to be like downtown, to have, you know, not have wide setbacks and to avoid the front parking. As we all know, I mean, downtown, the buildings come up to the sidewalk, and you may have the diagonal parking in front, but you don't have big parking lots. And I know people on Highlands Road get upset because they're not considered to be downtown. If you're fronted by a sea of asphalt, it doesn't feel like downtown. And if we want our town to expand, it needs to be on the kind of town pattern rather than strip mall pattern. And it just seems that we have to do, especially with buildings that are being replaced or upgraded, that we need to move toward sidewalks, not having big parking lots in front. And I wonder if there's any way the town would consider trying to either regulate that or at least have strong, preferences about patterns for downtown building.
And a lot of that is already in place in your UDO, your Unified Development Ordinance. The downtown area, a lot of that, of course, is still non-conforming, but since it was grandfathered in. But if you ever did see new growth downtown, they would be expected to meet many of those requirements you just
So they would
stated.
build up the sidewalk and not have front parking.
Yes, ma'am.
That's Main Street, downtown Main Street.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not Depot Street, it's not Palmer Street.
It seems like if that could be extended to some of those streets that are actually downtown and want to be considered to be downtown, that gradually over time it can make a difference.
How's the working relationship between city council and the commission, the county commission?
I feel that it's really grown in just the 4 years I've been here. I know since the 4 years I've been with the town, one thing that the Macon County, the town of Highlands, and the town of Franklin have tried to start doing more regularly is every quarter, one agency will host a joint meeting, and that's a time for each agency to come together, express the issues and some concerns that they have on a town level and a county level. I think it's growing. I actually went to school with our current county manager, and he worked with me, the town. So I think there's a very positive outlook for the city and the county relations, and I think it's something that's been being built on, and I think it will continue to be built on, and that's crucial. Because we're all fighting for the same cause, whether you're city, county, school, whatever. We all are fighting for the same goals.
Then I wanted to commend the council for the increase in tax base, increase in taxes. We do have several people who are regular contributors to letters to the editor who advocate, again, cutting taxes. And I think anyone involved in government, more than most of us, appreciates the fact that we don't get the services, we don't keep our infrastructure in tip-top shape without taxes. So I think probably it's incumbent upon council to try to educate us, or keep on educating us. We still have to go higher on taxes. It's no great pride, I agree, to say we are the lowest among 100 counties in our tax rate. That's not to be, we shouldn't be proud of that, but we have to educate the public.
Yes, ma'am.
This goes back to Mayor Scott talking about advertising outside of the community, like advertising our access to the Appalachian Trail. But going back into our community, I talked with a teacher recently who tries to take her students out, middle grade students out to, why aren't kids who grow up in Macon County, why isn't this part of their curriculum? That we have this amazing trail that is world famous. And I realize it's kind of dependent on the town's relationship with the school board and all that. And this teacher did say the current school superintendent does seem a lot friendlier to the idea of getting kids out there on the trail. But We also need to advertise within our community. She takes kids who didn't know that trail was there, didn't know they can go out on this trail anytime. It's not just a school trip. They have access to it all the time, and that's good.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns, criticism? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if this is the place, but I had this turn about burning in Franklin.
Okay.
People burning leaves, fish, whatever. I live in an area, I live in town, and I live like, somewhat uphill from a person's property that just recently burned downhill for me, and all the smoke came into my home. Now, I do get air conditioning, but I don't, and so it fills my house with smoke. I found out that it takes, that if you're going to get a burning permit, it lasts for a month. So if we are dry, that could be a problem. I mean, you could have a burning permit for a whole month, but you could have a dry, period in that time. I didn't really want to call the fire department, the person that was burning his leaves. The leaves had been there for 3 years, and they left, and they went to property. And I went to see Warren K. about it, and he said someone would come by and check. But it was still smoldering the next day. And I don't want our neighborhood to burn down. I live near the school, and several, I'm right in town, so.
If you wouldn't meet with me just for a few minutes afterwards, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions?
Susan, this has been delightful, and thank you all.
Thank you all so much.
I
Thank you all for coming, and hope to see you next month. Yeah. No, there's one announcement.